And we are live. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is you are in the world, and welcome to another edition of the Living World of Darkness. This evening we find Juno making her way back to where she met Ghost previous few evenings, about 6 blocks from where they had met up the first time. After receiving a text from Ghost, Juno is wary of her new acquaintance, but to get a beat on this thing that looks extremely wrong under her second sight, she waits where asked. However, she does have a concealed knife on her just to be safe, but she doesn't think she'll need it considering how the last little meeting went. But she currently sits just inside of an alleyway, just in sight of the Dunkin' Donuts across the street. Just sitting and waiting, smoking. And it's here that we start our scene.
She doesn't have to wait too long before she can hear the rumble of a Harley Davidson motorcycle and see the familiar white mohawk of the rider. The motorcycle stops just outside the donut shop and Ghost dismounts. She looks... A trained eye could see that she probably is wearing armour underneath her hooded jacket. She walks a little bit more stiffly than you would if you had loose clothing on, but she doesn't at the moment appear to be armed. She spots Juno standing there and smiles before walking over and giving her sort of a nod of a greeting.
Juno will reciprocate and kind of take a drag from the cigarette, blow out some smoke, and sort of make room against the wall that she's standing on so Ghost can join her.
I guess just looking around, making sure that there's no obvious eavesdroppers to the conversation, but it's quite late, so most people aren't hanging around the streets. It's not particularly a safe place to spend a lot of time hanging around if you're not armed, so she doesn't look too worried about people overhearing the conversation, and she says, I guess I better cut to the chase, huh? No, how do you
Juno
do?
kind of yawns a bit. She looks a little bit on the sleepy side, like she had been asleep. Yeah, I suppose you people don't sleep at night, do you?
I didn't a lot when I wasn't dead, so she shrugs.
Okay. Well,
You can, if you, she has her hood down, but where the night before you would have seen tattoos on her neck, the skin seems to now be clear.
Juno will take
I
note.
had a meeting with some of my friends earlier, and it brought up some interesting information about our mutual friend Vinny.
Right.
One of the senior of my kind was his not boss, but in charge of kindred like him.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me a little bit about him. He said that he was a weak-blooded vampire who he took under his wing and eventually ended up mentoring, and he was a paranoid little creature. But that's not unusual for the type of vampire that Vinny was or is. Um, what I'm getting at is his my associate seems to think that whatever that was that we saw the other night was not Vinny.
Hmm. Well, that does pose a new dynamic to the whole thing. If we end up having to kill it, whether it's your people or mine, looks like we won't be encroaching on one another.
Back along, before I came to the city, I was told that there was some sort of creature that bit the head off of its victim and then took its shape.
Jesus.
Vinny went missing.
That's slightly
We don't
terrifying.
know whether it's actually Vinny or whether it's this creature that's killed him and taken his shape.
Hmm.
So you may not be dealing with a vampire here, you may be dealing with something else.
Well, considering how our last few meetings have gone, that might be somewhat ideal.
Either way, I've been instructed to capture Vinny myself, so we're both working towards the same goal. I don't think. I'm not sure whether my elders have any intention of killing him or not. Probably they will. I don't really know what their intentions are, but they do want him. So
I can't guarantee that if
it makes
we
sense he's keeping himself off the radar.
probably, though I can't really guarantee that if I go after him that he'd be captured. That's not really what I do.
I was having a little think earlier, and I've got a proposal for you. Don't worry, it's not a marriage proposal.
I don't even think it's 100% legal in this state anyway.
I'm guessing since you kill my kind for a living, for want of a better word or phrasing.
I don't kill anything for a living. Let me make that really clear. And as she says that, she'll actually very blatantly pull one of the knives out from her belt, and she won't make any threatening gestures or anything, but she'll just kind of twirl it around and kind of rest it up on its tip on the tip of her finger, kind of holding it out, balancing it. The only things I've ever brought this to bear on are things that I have seen hurt people. And she looks over
Ghost,
to Ghost.
I'm gonna. I think she's probably gonna. She's taking a step back, even though you're not acting aggressively with it. Pulling out a knife is still kind of a threatening thing to do.
She'll kind of just smirk over at Ghost, and then she'll actually just kind of flip it over, grab it by the blade, and hold the grip out towards Ghost.
Ghost steps back forward, but she doesn't reach out and take it. She just sort of shrugs a little bit.
Juno will just set it up on the dumpster they're standing next to. I'm not the kind of person that just goes and indiscriminately kills.
Well, I didn't mean to offend you. I was just trying to get to the point.
Alright. Well, that's my point. I don't know what you think of me. I don't know what your people might think of me, considering you already seem to know something about me. But I'm in the business of
Well,
protecting
from what
people.
I can tell, my people that I know want you dead.
Not
So,
surprising. In all honesty, I'd rather see your kind wiped off the face of the planet if it were in the best interest of humankind, but over the past few weeks I've been becoming a bit more pragmatic. It seems that your kind come, and a lot of other kinds, she kind of rolls her eyes a bit, come in various shades of gray. And the world's not
huh,
exactly as black and white as I thought
yeah.
it was.
Which is why I need your help.
She's gonna roll her head over at that point and just kind of look at
You seem to be able to
Ghost.
discern these shades of grey.
I can
You
in
seem to
a
be able to
manner of
tell
speaking.
these shades of grey.
All right, I'm listening.
I can't. We, we want the same thing. For different reasons. You want to make sure that innocent people don't get hurt. I want that too. I mean, I've got no love for anyone who murders and tortures people. I don't approve of that. But also, I need to prove myself in this city to gain any sort of power. And I think that you'll agree that it's better to have people like me in power than it is people like Vinny.
Juno is just going to start chuckling to the point that she actually starts laughing slightly. So let me get this straight. The blood-sucking vampire wants me to help her ascend into a position that gives her some sort of sway over how things are run in the city.
Something like that. At the same time, we get to kill off some bad guys. All I need you to do is point out to me the ones that look particularly wrong, and we can dispense with them, and I can prove to my elders that they're dispensed with, and kill two birds with one stone. From my experience, the darker shade of vampires uh, are the ones I'm looking for, the ones that are causing us problems.
Juno is going to hold her hand up to her face with her index and middle finger parted and hold the sort of parted point or the parted area over her left eye. And she's going to gamble, say, for conviction to activate
Okay.
discern. And it's difficulty 6. And she passes that with flying colors. 1, 2, 3 successes.
Okay.
So the next 30 minutes, discern is up and running. Um, she's going to just kind of look at Ghost and see her in the slight shade of wrong that she is. A slight tell that discern gives. And just sort of notice that she appears to be somewhat flesh tone, unlike a lot of the other vampires she's seen in the city. She'll take a few steps forward and just kind of reach out with her hand and touch Ghost on the cheek and see if she can't back Ghost up against the wall.
against the wall.
Yeah, with like Ghost's back up against the wall.
Did you try to back her up?
Yes.
Um,
She doesn't have the knife is out of reach, just so you know.
Ghost is gonna resist because she doesn't know what you're doing. Yeah, no, she doesn't know what you're doing.
Mm.
Some sort of wibbly power. Is there any like active effect of you doing that, or is it just me looking at you normally?
It's it's just normal.
I presume you don't glow or anything when you do that.
No, 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 no. I mean, you can make a perception and awareness check. I'm pretty sure if you want to.
Okay, I'll have a go. Perception 3, -2. That's a pretty terrible roll. So, okay, she won't resist you for the
She's got
minute.
that one. She's got that one success. So, you kind of feel when her hand touches you, you feel this sort of warmth, almost this slight tingle to the touch of her skin, and she feels warmer than a normal human being should. And you kind of maybe get a slight hint of like a sort of an like a electrical burning, almost like ozone, just a very slight hint of it. And no, screw it. Her eyes don't really seem to glow, but it seems like her eyes seem to catch the light a little bit more than normal.
She's not going to resist you as such, but she is preparing to react if you start to hurt her in any way. So
She just kind of leans up close to Ghost. You are a very interesting vampire, I'll have to say that. You're a lot braver than most of them are. The ones that have gotten to know who I am or gotten to know what I do, they don't normally stick around long. And the ones that do are usually looking for trouble. So either you're something completely new, you have a completely different motive, or you are looking for trouble. And she'll get her face about an inch, less than an inch from Ghosts. So which one are you?
mm. Considering Rollo showed roll for self-control now.
Go for it.
Ghost. You can see her react the same way she did before when you touched her hand a couple of nights ago. Her eyes flicker, and it's not aggressive. It's not quite lustful either. It's sort of somewhere in between. She I'm not like other vampires, that's true.
Hmm. I'm beginning to maybe believe you on that front just a bit. And she'll kind of smirk a bit, and why not? She actually leans in and kisses Ghost right on the lips.
Ghost kisses her back. It's sort of a weaker kiss than Juno might have given her because it's shock. There's shock in it. She's not really sure what she's supposed to be doing. um, and she's thinking, "Oh God, not this again."
I'm sure there's a story there. But Juno will hold it for a few minutes, but then back off. Hmm. Somehow I half expected you to taste like rotting flesh.
No, I floss.
Juno just kind
She
of
grins.
smirks at the at the obvious joke, but she'll actually kind of look up. You're joking, right?
No, you gotta floss. You don't want,
Um,
blood in your teeth. It's not attractive.
Let me ask you, how
She might get the
much?
sense that
Go ahead.
Ghost is now purposefully overcompensating. It's like the more you study Ghost, the more you notice that she's sort of overconfident to a point that it betrays less confidence underneath.
Alright. Um, Juno, for her part, she remains very close to Ghost at this point. She almost seems to be, I wouldn't say her guard is down, but she's at ease. She seems to think that Ghost isn't a threat that she has to directly worry about right this second. And she seems to have a sort of like a swagger, and she's carrying herself very confidently. Perhaps too confidently, so they're kind of birds of the same stone in that regard. But all the same, she just kind of gently kind of runs her fingers down Ghost's jawline, and she just goes, "When you feed from people, how bad off are they afterwards?"
Um, they can walk home
No lasting effects.
quite often. I drop them
No.
home. They will feel run down for maybe a week or so, like they've got the flu. But after that, their blood replenishes and they're fine. It doesn't kill them.
So it's like donating
Doesn't hurt
blood.
them.
And I don't suppose you're nice enough to give people orange
Yeah,
juice with
I
cookies
mean,
afterwards.
I didn't make a mistake or two when you're younger. When you're a younger vampire. When you're a younger vampire, it's hard to control yourself. My particular breed of vampire have more trouble with
Hmm.
this than others. We're passionate types.
Juno looks like she's mulling something over in her head at this point, and she'll just kind of look at Ghost, and she'll actually move some hair back away from her neck, and she'll move up very close to Ghost again, just to see what
No, I
happens.
really am gonna have to roll for self-control now. There's no denying that. That's not what I meant to roll. Ignore that. You roll one dice then. I have more self-control than that.
I was gonna say that's just one self-control. You did all right for yourself.
Yeah, I'm fine. She's got good self-control for a bruiser. She
Yeah, I've noticed.
she runs her tongue across her bottom lip. Are you brave or stupid? Not sure which.
I'm curious. I want to know just how bad it is for the people I protect. And this is a good way for me to judge whether or not I really need to think of you as a loose end or maybe just another passerby.
So you want me to bite you?
She just kind of nods slightly. She's actually going to reach out for the blade at this point and just hold it, but she says, if I get the feeling like I'm in danger, I'm not going to stab you, but I am going to let you know that this blade's there. Let's consider this a moment of trust, shall we? Let's see how far our curiosity takes us.
Alright. Ghost wraps her arms around Juno's waist and leans in and bites her. Obviously to feed, not to damage.
Juno, I'm assuming at this point, kind of falls under the sway of the kiss because she doesn't have second sight up. And immediately you hear the clank on the ground as that knife just falls right out of her hand.
Ghost takes just a little blood. I mean, I expect rules-wise it would count as 1 pint, but it's not gonna. She's not gonna drink a pint of her blood. She's just gonna take a little tiny bit, and then stop and lick the wound closed.
Juno will kind of lean against Ghost at that point, taking one hand and running it over where the bite was, and she's kind of at this point breathing kind of heavy, kind of haggard. Holy shit. Her gaze is kind of far off as she just kind of rubs where the wound should be, and she realizes that there's no hole there. Or no holes.
Sorry, my phone's actually going mad.
It's alright.
Stop. I don't know how to work this phone.
Press the little button on the top right-hand corner.
Stop. Whatever you're doing, just stop. Okay. Apologise for my out of character flail there.
That's fun. Happens.
What did you just say?
She's kind of like leaning against Ghost at this point. She's kind of haggard in her breathing, and she's like rubbing her fingers over where the wound should be, and she's kind of surprised that there's not 2 puncture marks there. And she just looks up at Ghost. That felt way too fucking good.
Yeah. Well, it's a good experience. Yeah. I've known some people who don't have that effect. Some vampires, when they bite you, it really, really hurts.
You're clearly not one of those.
No.
Juno kind of looks down and realizes she's dropped the knife, and she's going to crouch down in front of Ghost at that point and pick up the knife and place it back in the sheath on her belt. I'm not really sure what to make of you.
I don't think there's a chance that we're probably ever going to fully trust each other.
Probably not.
I mean, I don't really ever fully trust anyone.
She'll actually kind of raise a brow and She actually almost looks like she kind of pities Ghost at that point. No one ever, not even your own kind.
Especially not my own kind. A lot of them don't have compassion anymore. When you live a long time, you start to think of things a lot more cynically and coldly than you did when you were alive. That's why humans are just toys to a lot of the older vampires.
What do you view us as?
I've come to respect humans as much as I do other vampires. I mean, we can't live without them, and we certainly shouldn't underestimate them.
You know, we'll
I
sort
don't
of
have any ill will towards any one person.
she'll kind of lean close again to Ghost and kind of run one of her tips of her fingers over Ghost's lips. And what about me? And it might be fairly obvious that Juno's laying it on thick intentionally.
I think you're cute. Like a
Juno
girl
just
with
kind of
knives.
snickers at that. You know, you're the first person in this city to say that.
But then, I do have a weakness for dangerous women, so
Fair enough. She takes a few steps back at that point and still kind of rubs her neck with the odd tingly sensation there and kind of takes a deep breath in before sort of stepping out of the alleyway, kind of chewing on her lower lip as she's now somewhat conflicted because things aren't necessarily at all black and white anymore for her. She's definitely thinking that, well, if nothing else, Ghost can be pretty useful. But she kind of just smiles at Ghost. Well, I'll keep in mind what you've said about your friend Vinny, and I don't know what you're going to tell your own people about me, but
I'm not going
next
to tell them
time
anything.
I'm going to roll some perception empathy there. That must spent me a willpower point.
Okay.
One success.
She seems to be telling the truth.
She just kind of nods. Well, if you do,
I don't really want to see you get killed, so
hmm, you're the first vampire to ever say that to me in the city.
Ghost shrugs. I mean, it's because you're useful to me, right?
Seems to be then we have a mutual understanding with each other.
Ghost changes her demeanour slightly, as if she's suddenly realised that she's being a little bit soft. Probably too soft. She folds her arms. Listen, I've got things to do. So, if you want to work together, you have my number.
All right. That works for me. Juno will just kind of hold out a hand to Ghost. Until next time.
She takes her hand and shakes it, clasping it for a moment longer than she probably would have done in a normal handshake. Till next time.
Juno just kind of looks her straight in the eye, still somewhat trying to work out the whole dynamic between the two, but then lets go and walks down the street in the opposite direction of where she lives.
Ghost gets onto her motorcycle, and it's her turn to do the oh shits, and she leans on the handlebars and she's like fuck, 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 cursing to herself and shaking her head before she revs the motorcycle into life and drives off in the opposite direction to where Juno went.
And I think there we can end our scene.